Welcome to the Top 10 Gardener with Master Gardener Ken Lain. Gardening can be challenging, but with Ken's tips, tricks, and top 10 advice, you'll reap huge rewards. Now welcome your garden host, Ken Lain.
And welcome to this week's edition of The Mountain Gardener. Your host, Ken Lain, here every week, talking about the landscapes of northern Arizona. We are into the rainy season of summer. Some plants really do thrive. And there's also some plants that kind of struggle. And so you go from super hot to, oh, it's cloud cover. It's kind of nice. Humid goes up. Oh, and then there's rain. Then you've got it can really be a challenge. You got to be in tune with your gardens. I thought I'd give you a couple ideas or things I'm doing in my own gardens that I think will help you in your own gardens. And it's every summer. It's the same way. Plants like the sun up till it's about 95 degrees. And then they start to struggle. Now I'm talking about mountain plants. Now you folks that might be tuned in or have several homes, you've got one down in the deserts, Scottsdale. You've got some up here in God's country, the mountains. That might be different. Now these are the plants that are up here in God's country. This is the higher elevation stuff, the pine forest, the junipers, the manzanitas, and all the landscapes that grow in this elevation. We're typically putting our plants on drip irrigation. They need to be watered. Not so much this time of year. Rainy kind of takes the pressure off. In fact, you can actually overwater if you don't throttle back or adjust your irrigation right now because you're getting some heavy afternoon rains. And so that double down on your drip irrigation. And so we've been watering through June, first part of July, pretty often, probably every day. Your vegetable and flower beds, probably once a week for your established hardcore. They've rooted in types of trees and shrubs, and somewhere in between the others. Lawns are probably every other day or so. It depends on the type of lawn that you've got. You know, bluegrass, you're probably watering every day. A fescue every 2 to 3 days. It's a deeper rooted, cool season green kind of grass. And so there's some variables here. This is gardening. So we're dealing with living, breathing plants out in the yard, trying to help them grow and be healthy. Here are some things that really can help you. If your plants are heat stressed or they're showing some signs of some damage from the summer sun, once you get above 95, plants start to struggle. They start to really try to cool down their environment. And so up in the hundreds, they're kind of struggling. Then it cools back down at night. And typically plants will grow at night when it's cooler out. So they're kind of like people. If you're comfortable outdoors, so are your plants. If you're cold in the evening outdoors, probably your plants are too. They're very much like people. They're living, breathing things out in the yard. They're not puppy dogs, but sometimes they think they are, and they struggle some. And so you're watering probably in the morning. Get those plants hydrated before the heat of the day. You're not going to go take on Granite Mountain or hike to the highest tops and not hydrate before you even leave. I know you're taking a water bottle with you as well, but you're probably going to hydrate before you start heading out into the heat. Plants love to do the same thing. They would much rather to be watered early morning. And we're talking dawn till 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning. They want to be hydrated before it's hot, before it's above 85 degrees, getting hot. So water them. They don't like being wet going into the evening. They don't like warm afternoons, and being moist, especially on the foliage, is going to cause you issues. You're going to have mildews and spots and curls and all kinds of problems that can show up. Watering in the morning is much better. That's first thing. Second, they love their soil to be, the soil can get sunburned. And so they don't want their the soil around where their roots are growing, to be sunburned. It starts to get parched and cracked. To put a 2 to 3 inch layer of some sort of organic material. I like using shredded cedar bark, but mulch, compost, any of this. Just don't use manure because it's hot and then it's going to add down. It's going to double down on the heat. Don't use manure. Use composted bark material or shredded cedar bark. Some of these things just to keep the sun from hitting the soil around the roots. It'll keep the roots from sunburning. Little they can sunburn. So it really takes the edge off. Those two things alone are magic. There's also a product That's an industrial, it's a commercial grade agriculture product. It's kind of really specialized. We're deep down into gardening at this point. It's called Wilt Stop, Wilt, Wilt Stop. It's a clear coating, clear kind of, it's like a sunblock for plants. And so you coat the foliage and it keeps the plants from perspiring outside. It locks in the moisture of the plants so that as the plant gets hot, it's going to perspire. And the roots literally can't take up moisture fast enough to take on, to keep the plant hydrated. So this helps regulate that. It's a game changer. It really makes a difference. And it makes your plants look kind of pretty, makes them shiny and glowy. I kind of do everything in June just because I know they're going to get hot. Just keeps them looking good, shiny. If you're coming over to visit, we're having crumpets and tea or watching a sunset and wine. Wow, there we go. We're probably going to have I'm going to put some wilt stop on my plants because they glow better. They just look healthier. It's kind of like houseplants. They've got leaf shine for houseplants. Well, this is for outdoor use. Wilt stop is for shiny leaves outdoors. But the main thing is it keeps them from perspiring. Game changer. Keeps the plants from getting too hot. 3 things now. Water in the morning. Put a 2 to 3 inch layer of mulch or something to keep the soil from sunburning. And then wilt stop. Lastly, I'll leave you with this. It's called Aqua Boost. There are soil polymers. This is really important for container gardens, raised beds, things that you're watering frequently. Aqua Boost is a polymer. It's crystals. You add them into the soil, the top layers of the soil, and as you water, as it rains, it actually absorbs that moisture and holds it, locks it in place right there where the roots are, and then releases that water back to the plants as the plant needs it during the heat of the day. If you travel a lot, if you've got houseplants that it's hard to keep them alive. You've got outdoor containers in that full hot sun. Aqua Boost is a game changer. You just sprinkle it in the top layers. A few tablespoons will go long ways for that, like a tablespoon for a plant. So every time I garden, I add a tablespoon or so of Aqua Boost. It holds the moisture in. We've infused these crystals with mycorrhizal colonies, so the beneficials that attach themselves to roots of plants and help them to root out and grow. So it's holding the moisture in, and then it's encouraging additional root growth of those plants. So there's 4 things. That's water in the morning. Kind of add a 2 to 3 inch layer of composted material on top of that plant, shredded cedar bark. Coat the top foliage with wilt stop, and then add at the soil level Aqua Boost. Those things will greatly reduce the amount of water you need to irrigate your plants with, so to frequency of turning that irrigation on. It's going to take the heat stress off. They're not going to get as wilty towards the end of the day. They're going to keep nice and perky and healthy. They're going to have thicker, chubbier leaves and stems because, well, they just hold their moisture in. Your fruits, your flowers will stay on the plant longer, grow larger. It really is a game changer. So you can take the edge off your summer gardens with those 4 things, those insider tips. It's super easy, but you got to be proactive with it. If you've not done any of those, you can add them now. It's never too late. It's never too late to take the stress off of your plants. As soon as you take the pressure off of those peppers that have been struggling, man, they will set fruit. We're talking loaded by the end of next week. They're going to be set flowers and keep going. The thickness of those squash, the cucumbers, pumpkins are going to get bigger because it can now focus all that moisture without all the stress, heat pressure into those fruits, into those geraniums, into those berries, whatever it is. It's going to take, if your plants look heat stressed, then I'll leave you with this. This is a growing season. If you simply fertilize your plants right now, you do any one of these things I just mentioned, the water in the morning, the top dress with some compost, the Aqua Boost, the wilt stop. And then if you simply fertilize your plants, they're going to take those nutrients and just ignite with new growth. Your hydrangeas can have an entire new set of flowers. Within a week to 10 days, you're going, wow, that's really is a game changer. because plants are growing so fast right now. And so heat-stressed plants, summer, your plants don't have to be that way. You can make a difference with just a few of those tips. Got to introduce Lisa Lain coming in right after these messages with your garden questions. Be right back after this.
Wondering why the grass is always greener on the other side? Well, it's probably because your neighbor used the all-purpose fertilizer from Waters Garden Center. Monsoon is right around the corner, and it's the perfect time to feed your plants. Waters all-purpose fertilizer is the only organic made especially for Arizona mountain soils. Don't buy a bunch of different fertilizer for your flowers, veggies, trees, or grass. This one does it all. The plants on your side will be happier, healthier, well, greener. Safe, natural, organic. Waters Garden Center in Prescott.
You're listening to Garden Master Ken Lain, owner of Waters Garden Center in Prescott. Join his daily podcast for timely garden advice seasonally right for the gardens. Ken can be found throughout the week at Waters Garden Center in Prescott or through his website at top10gardener.com. You're listening to Garden Master Ken Lain and the Top 10 Gardener podcast. Welcome to the Top 10 Garden Show.
All right, so we are back with Lisa Lain in the studio. She comes each week with your garden questions. Just what are your neighbors talking about? And so we can get some insight into that. So welcome to the studio, Lisa.
Thank you. Always good to be here.
Really?
Yes. Yes.
It actually is hard to come up with content 52 weeks out of the year. I talk to other business owners or hosts or podcasters or content creators, and they go, "Oh, that's a great idea. I just want to do that. I also want to write a book and I want to start my own." Yeah, it sounds really good until you have to actually do it every week, coming up with original, entertaining, insightful, knowledgeable type of content. And so gardening is actually easier than ever. I mean, I can imagine doing insurance, attorneys, accountants,
actuaries,
yeah. Anyway, so this is garden questions. So what do we got? Anything interesting going on with the monsoon rains?
Well, sure. They're always interesting, right?
Yeah. Well, sometimes they're more interesting than
we do.
others.
Since we've had that moisture, we have a lot of weird weeds and vines and things growing that we probably didn't have last year because they just kind of sat dormant in the ground because there wasn't enough moisture to get them going. But this year we have stuff going. So the weeds are coming out in full force. That's for sure. But Marty has a weed growing in her yard that looks very similar to morning glory, but a little bit smaller. She wants to know, can I just let it grow? It looks kind of pretty.
Yeah.
Or is it something I should take care of?
Yeah, you should take care of that. So it is a morning glory. We call it wild morning glory, I'm guessing. Now, there is actual morning glory. It grows here. Now, we're not allowed to sell the seed because if cattle eat morning glory, they stop eating, they stop gaining weight. Ranchers just outlawed morning glory, selling morning glory seed here in the state of Arizona 100 years ago. So, but you can still find it from a friend. There's still ways to find it. So
there's always a black
That's
market.
one with a great big blue flower, purple flower.
Right.
And so there's a cousin to that called wild morning glory that is much more aggressive and it climbs up. It's also called choke weed. Yeah. It chokes out corn, chokes out your vegetables, chokes out your flowers, chokes out, if you stand still long enough, it'll choke you out. So you really don't want this in your yard. And it's an annual. It comes back by seed every year. And so the rains are kind of what started. So I'm sure I've seen a little bit showing up here, but it'll climb up fences, form a seed, and then spew it all over the yard. And so it's very insidious. So you really don't want this in your yard. So kill it. Pull it out. Is it
also known as bindweed?
Bindweed.
Another name?
Yep. That's it. Yeah.
Usually it's like a little pink or white flower on it.
Yeah. Comes in a couple different colors, but none of it is good. Okay. Don't let it grow. Decimate is a really easy type of weed killer. It's a liquid mixed up in a pump up spray can, spot treat that, and it'll be dead by the end of the day. Basically, it's really fast. Keep up on it. You know, something you mentioned that last year didn't have rain, drought. We didn't have as many weeds. And then this year we do. I saw a study that said there's like 2,000 seed in every square foot of soil you see sitting there waiting to be disturbed or moistured. They're laying in wait. It was an unbelievable number. Wow, how is that even possible? But then you see the rains come and you see why it's possible.
That's a good reason to use the weed and grass stopper. That's a preventative or pre-emergent. It is hugely useful if you don't want to be out there pulling a ton of weeds all the time.
Again, bindweed or wild morning glory, that is an annual. It only comes back by seed every year, never by the roots. So if you can put that out where that weed and grass stopper out where they seem to come up along the driveway next to that fence line, you can eliminate any of the work, eliminate having to spray weed killers because you took care of it before they even came up.
You bet.
Good advice.
All right. Our next question is from Shannon in Chino. She wants to put in raspberries, blackberries, marionberries, all the berries. Wants to know what kind of light do they need? Do they need to be on a trellis, or can you just kind of let them free form?
Yeah, good. So, Shannon, Chino Valley they've got some very nice vineyards out there. So grapes, brambles, blackberries, raspberries do amazingly well. The secret with berries, they need sunlight. And so Chino's pretty good with the sunlight. I would say at least 6 hours or more of sunlight will get you a nice big cluster of berries. We're starting to harvest those right now. So this is when from summer through autumn is when you pick most of the berries. And it's a great time to plant some for next year's harvest. So yes, you can definitely have that. I would say one little insider tip when you're planting berries, come talk to us and we can show you how to plant them. But with berries, they're very sensitive to having soil on their canes or on their stems. Don't let any soil touch that when you're planting them, or they will crown rot or stem rot in the garden. So they can come back from the roots, but why do that? You have this beautiful plant you bought from the nursery. You want it to live and thrive and grow. And then trellis or not to trellis, fence or not to fence. Brambles seem to find their own way. They just grow and have big stems. If you want to keep them in bounds, so tie them next to a fence or tie them up to a trellis. It'll keep them from being 8 by 8 by 8 sprawling plant. It'll be 2 by 8 by 8 sprawling plant against a fence
makes it
line.
easier to pick
to
fruit
manage
as
well.
Yeah.
There's also just insider tips. That's one when you come look, we can guide you through this, but there's thornless varieties. So you don't look like you've been in a cat fight when you go to pick the berries. It's just, there are certain varieties that do better here. So of course that you'll find those at Waters Garden Center, of course.
Got to get
and you
that
can
plug
check
in.
them on the website. So top10plants.com.
Sure.
You can see what's on.
Okay. Good information. Next is Laurel in Prescott Valley. She wants to know, is it okay at this time of year to trim up some of her shrubs? So roses, crepe myrtle, butterfly bush. Is it okay to trim those this time of year?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially the spring bloomers. So forsythia, lilacs, flowering quince, azaleas, rhododendrons, prune those things back now. And they'll start forming their buds through autumn, through the winter, and they'll bloom next spring. Things like butterfly bush, rose of Sharon's, crepe myrtles, the things that bloom in the summer, chaste tree. There's a ton of desert willow. There's a ton of them. Those you're better off right now deadheading the spent flowers. Focus on the flowers. Pinch the flowers off, and they'll repeat bloom. And then this winter, let's say November, December, January, when it's they've gone dormant, that's the best time to plant or to prune those back. Right now, if you prune them back too much, you can affect their flowers. They won't bloom anymore. And we're in the peak of the bloom cycle. So why not enjoy the flowers instead of trying to focus on the size of the plant? What the book says is you can prune back 10% of the foliage mass whenever you want. Middle of summer is 100 degrees, prune it back. The heavy pruning on summer blooming things are done in the winter. So you can prune up to a third of that foliage, a third of the plant, just whack it right back down in winter. The spring bloomers, you're really pruning a third of the foliage mass, really cut it back. Let's see, a lilacs, it's really gone berserk, too big. You can prune it back now. So really May, June is ideal, but hey, it's July. Go for it.
Okay. I think we got time to sneak one more in. So David had a beautiful maple that was slammed by all the hail.
Oh, no.
To the point that it even took bark off the branches and stems. Wants to know,
that's hard.
Boy, is it going to make it with that kind of, damage to it?
Yeah.
And then just what things should he be looking out for?
So what you do, so the hail really took out portions, and we're seeing pockets of hail all around the county, really.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not done. So we've got hail possible through September.
Yeah.
So things will relief. They will regrow. They'll actually grow more cambium, more bark area around those damaged areas. Will it live? Will it die? I don't know. I'm not all omnipotent. I'm not sure. But I know I'm always stunned at how plants want to live. They want to come back. They want to grow. Just nurse them along at all, and they'll come out of it. Yeah. So the best thing now is fertilize with the all-purpose plant food right now. Like, take advantage of we got 3 months of growing season left. Take advantage of every day, and they'll form new leaves. You probably have great fall color this fall, and that bark area, it'll actually start to grow over. It might take a couple seasons, but it'll grow over and heal itself. Right. I would give it a chance. Don't give up. If it does die, I know where you can buy a beautiful new maple tree here in Prescott. But give it a chance first. Okay, out of time. Ken and Lisa Lain, the Mountain Gardeners. We'll be right back after this.
Water's Garden companion plants for July are hibiscus, maple, verbena, and crepe myrtle.
Crepe myrtle flowers are intense watermelon pink, solar reds, and LED whites that cover this heat-loving shrub.
Plant where you enjoy its beautiful multicolored bark and sinuous branches up close.
The flowers show against forest green foliage that turns red and orange in autumn.
Growing to just head height, every yard has room for at least one, and only available for summer planting here at Waters Garden Center in Prescott. You're listening to Ken Lain, aka the Top 10 Gardener. Ken can be found throughout the week in Prescott at Waters Family Garden Center. Listen daily as he answers the top 10 questions of the week, streaming on Apple, Google, Spotify, or wherever you download your podcasts. You've tuned in to the Top 10 Garden Show with garden expert Ken Lain. Join the conversation daily as he answers timely garden questions. Email Ken a question directly from your phone to his desktop through the web at watersgardencenter.com. That's Waters with 2 T's, gardencenter.com. Or visit face-to-face throughout the week where he can be found at Waters Garden Center in Prescott. Now welcome your host, Ken Lain.
So I just got back from the largest trade show for the greenhouse grower, retailer, my industry. They meet in Columbus, Ohio, every month, this month in July. It's called Cultivate. I know it's kind of cheesy, but we like it. Cultivate, gardening, any kind of those kind of topics. But every greenhouse grower, every machine, every drone, every robot, every assembly line, soils, plugs, growers, breeders, retailers, they're all here. Thousands. I think there were 10,000 people that attended this show. It's mainly educational, but I took an entire management team of Waters Garden Center to that show. So it's kind of inspiring. It's a perk. We're coming off the backside of the season. They've worked hard. They deserve it. And so I've got several trade shows that I go to. Every industry has their own gathering of professionals, and this is ours. And you can sit there and talk directly the hard, deep science of fertilizers and soil and plug growing and how they get genetics, a new product. I don't think I can get any for next year. I'm trying, but it's so introduced. But there is a new breeder, new developer of plants. They actually created, believe it or not, I've been in there. I've seen it with my own 2 eyes. The new growth actually has phosphorescent. It glows in the dark. It looks like fireflies on petunias. They've got a glow in the dark petunia. Believe it or not, it's so new. They're kind of getting the idea going, I wonder if people will buy this. I'm going, yeah, I'll bring it. I'll take it. Okay. How do I get a truckload? They're kind of expensive because they're so brand new. But they do actually, you walked into basically a room with the lights off, and they had racks or big gardens filled with these glow-in-the-dark petunias. It's freakish. Kind of boring. White flower, traditional green petunia, but the new foliage and the new buds actually did glow. Had to be pretty dark. I'm thinking I could change out my landscape lighting with some, I don't know, black lights or some blue or something. See if I can get them. It'd be fun to play with some iridescent, phosphorescent plants. And they got more coming online. This is the future coming down there. And yes, they are genetically modified. I don't know how they did it. They put some sort of mushroom gene and splice it into a petunia, and they come up with this glow in the dark thing. I don't know. Don't call me and say, hey, you're going to kill the world. I don't know. They're researching this stuff now, but it's amazing what they can do. We've got new fertilizers coming online that are just slower release, more consistent. And the way they do it, they suspend it in midair and then coat it with these fancy organics, and they spit it out the other end. And it works. The technology is crazy. They are no longer using crop dusters. They just don't do it. They got huge drones that fly over fields and then spot treat fungal or bug issues. So it can be much more targeted, specific. They've got satellite and fancy cameras that spot exactly where that crop is being infected, and they go after it right exactly there. It's kind of like Star Trek stuff, only it's here now. So they've got giant drones. This drone is the size of your car and holds, I don't know how many gallons of the solution that flies over. That's the biggest one. They've got robots actually go out. They pre-program them to space out container gardens. So your 5-gallon pots out. This is farm stuff. You space your 5-gallon, let's say, red tip Botania. They'll be exactly GPS spotted out in the field. And then they've got another one that will trim it. They got another one that will pick it up and take it back to the truck. They have another one that'll load it. So this automation is, wow. I've seen it for the last few years, but it was pronounced at this year's Cultivate gathering of greenhouse grower, retailer people. Anyway, I don't know. They have big farms. Next month, they get to go to Portland, Oregon, where we tour farms. And there you're seeing gigantic robots. I mean, down rows and rows, trimming these plants, getting them perfectly exact, trimming plants, and not one person's touching it. It just goes down the row. It's huge. It's the size of a bus going down lines of container gardens. It's fascinating. What's happening, not just with irrigation. Irrigation's been satellite driven, weather. They've been, dialing this in for years, but the new stuff coming online. Oh my gosh, it's amazing. Some beautiful new dahlias, stunning new flower colors coming online. Very interesting stuff that are more drought hardy, heat loving, easier care, bigger cone flowers. Anyway, I get to see all this kind of new stuff. Some of that stuff will be here. We got that booked already. So we'll have that available for 2025, but they're always teasing us. Going, yeah, here's 25 and here's 26 and 27. We can see out about 3 years. The plants are going to be coming our way. The cool new, just nifty new plants that are coming. And I got to tell you, next spring, it's going to be exciting. So we got more in store for you. Got to take a quick break. Be right back after this.
Waters Garden companion plants for July are hibiscus, maple, crepe myrtle, and purple verbena.
Purple verbena is mountain famous for gorgeous summer-long flowers held over compact green foliage.
This purple bloomer loves bright gardens, summer heat, and grows best in poor soils with less water.
Go ahead and abuse this bloomer. You can't kill it.
The perfect native perennial for easy summer long flowers.
You'll only find the toughest verbena here at Waters Garden Center, 1815 Iron Springs Road in Prescott.
The Top 10 Gardener, your source for timely garden advice, seasonally correct for the garden, guaranteed to make a difference in your yard this season. You've tuned in to the Top 10 Gardener with garden expert Ken Lain. Join him daily as he answers timely garden questions that are sure to make a difference in your gardens. Now welcome your host, Ken Lain.
All right, it is Ken and Lisa here at the Mountain Gardener. And this segment every week is for Lisa, just a different perspective what are your neighbors talking about? What are the gardeners? What's a different gardener's perspective? And I think there's different ways to look at gardens, and you've definitely got that florist, flower, beautification thing going on at our house. And so I thought, let's just segment this into your segment, and I'll try not to talk. And it's 10 minutes straight of just you.
10 minutes straight, sure.
Yeah, well, I'll help fill in just because, well, it's why you married me, to fill in.
Okay, I'll let that one go. So we did celebrate our 34th up at the lake.
Yep, Lake Powell.
So yeah, good times.
I would do it again.
The
34th and all 34 years.
All of them?
All of them. I mean, there's some rougher than others. Those first years as your first child, you don't know what to do. The first few years of marriage, you starve to death. You don't quite make enough to really get you going.
Yeah.
So you just and you got to buy all this stuff. And so you don't quite have enough to go around. And then twins. We thought we had it going on. And we were blessed. One boy, one girl, a pretty, blue 4-door sedan, everything fit, the perfect 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. And then the good Lord blesses you with identical twins. Yep. And nothing fits anymore. So
that threw a big monkey wrench into everything, but it's been a fun monkey wrench.
It has been. It's been a blessing. Kids are a blessing.
Good times. So came back from the lake, and we'd gotten some rain. We were there almost a week, came back, and the yard is gorgeous.
Oh, yeah.
All of our perennials are in full bloom. The thyme lawn is just blooming its heart out. It's just gorgeous.
You got to love the monsoons. This reminds me of the monsoons like in the 70s and 80s. Remember that? I mean, every after you couldn't go to church on Sunday and leave your windows open because by the time you got done going to Sunday brunch, coming back, it already rained. So rain's coming in. You had to really just plan ahead every afternoon, or it's highly likely it was going to rain. It's been doing that. So it's good.
Even just the increased humidity things are happy with that. But all of our catmint, and new things that we had planted or just taken off.
Agastache.
The agastache
doubled in size while we were away.
Everything's happy.
Yeah.
So it is a great time to plant still. So a lot of people start thinking, and I don't know where this comes from.
It's Phoenix or Midwest. I don't know.
It's that, I can't plant now, right?
It's Phoenix. It's the desert stuff. You don't do that in Palm Springs, or it's just too hot.
Yeah.
But you don't live 10 miles from the sun up here. You're like, it's not hot. It's what's it going to be today? 80s. That's not hot. That's beautiful with a chance of 80s with a chance of rain. That's like magic for gardens.
So it's still a great time to plant and a great time to dig because those soils have some moisture in them. They're not concrete anymore. So it's a great time to be out there planting. And we did get some new perennials in, real pretty. So I thought I would showcase a few of those because there's a few new ones.
The summer perennials, those are always the toughest. Oh my gosh. They take any amount of heat, as long as you got drainage, typically, they're going to grow like crazy, which we have.
That's true. So we did get a new catmint called Neptune catmint. So this is a nice little dwarf catmint. So it's going to get about 12 inches high. I'm sorry, about 12 inches wide, about 8 inches high.
That is almost a ground cover like.
Yeah,
wow.
Just a really cute little plant. Has that purpley blue foliage on it, or flowers. And the thing I like about the flower, and I meant to bring one over, darn it.
You should show the folks in the videos. You got to remember, this is a vlog, not just a radio piece.
I can't change. I'm a Luddite. But the flower is it's almost the standard size flower that's on the bigger one.
Nice.
So you really see a lot of flower when it's blooming. So very pretty. We also got in a little gold star black-eyed Susan.
Oh, neat. Another dwarf.
Right.
Oh, really?
And well, the flowers are, some of the black-eyed Susans have that really
huge,
great big flower. This one has about the size of a quarter, I'd say, but just covered in blossoms. So really, really pretty. And those black-eyed Susans are those great late summer bloomers.
Through fall. Now through fall,
mm-hmm.
it's going to bloom nonstop. Great autumn plant.
Mm-hmm. We also have a lot of great red hot pokers in. So the ones I like about these is they're the more dwarf red hot poker. So they're not going to take over a bed. Sometimes you put them in a perennial bed
Yeah.
and they get huge. They're like monsters taking over the
4x4.
But these guys don't. So we have the mango, which is kind of a yellow color, and then we have the orange. I think it's orange popsicle, orange something. Anyways, it's more of an orange color. It'd be really
Gotcha.
pretty together. A couple of those together in a perennial bed. Love the heat. Very drought hardy.
Yeah.
They animal resistant.
Yeah, they are. So red hot pokers, you can put them right out there with javelina. They're not going to bother them. They've just learned that's not good. I'm not sure about the dwarfs, but I don't know why a dwarf wouldn't be exactly the same as a standard parent size. I'm sure they're the same.
I would think so.
Yeah.
We've got a really pretty coneflower in called Sunny Days Ruby.
Yeah, I saw that on the
Isn't
back
that
dock
pretty?
when they're unloading. That's like
It
double
catches
pom pom
your eye,
pink.
doesn't it?
It's all like
Yeah.
I think it glows in the dark. It's beautiful. Oh my gosh.
It's out there screaming at you. Look
Yeah.
at me. We also got one called Baja Burgundy, which is a little bit darker red. The other one's more of a pinkish one, but very, very pretty. Gaillardia, which is another great late summer bloomer, blooms until fall. We have the Sunrita, which is a yellow and red color one. Very pretty, animal resistant.
Yep.
For those people. Then we got some really cool succulents in. So we have the autumn joy sedum, which gets up 2 feet?
Yeah, knee high or so, maybe just a little shy of knee high. Yeah.
And has that pink blossom. Well, they're coming out with some new varieties of
Ooh.
the autumn joy. So we have what's the first one called? Darn it. I did write it
read
down.
your notes.
I'm like, I can't either. Autumn Charm.
Okay.
Charm. So it's a variegated white and green leaf.
Well, that's interesting, especially with dark rock.
Mhm.
Again, sedums love the sun.
Yeah.
So it's sometimes you put these dark mocha colored rocks down, you put a dark green plant in, it's like they blend in.
Right.
Sometimes those variegated
It
varieties are
definitely
stunning.
shows up. It just is very bright with that white and green. It has a pink blossom to it, or will have a pink blossom to it. So that was a new one. And then we also got Dark Magic. Now this one probably don't want to put it with dark rock because it would just blend right in.
It's got a mocha colored
But
foliage
it's got
or something?
a almost black purple
Oh,
foliage.
that's neat.
I mean, you look at it, you go, oh wow, it's very, very different. And it has a dark pink flower to it, so you get kind of a really nice contrast.
Yeah, wow,
there.
that'd be neat. That's one you put with crushed granite, gold color with a dark foliage. It looks good. It's always
Right.
contrasting.
Mhm.
It's always a way to design.
Oh yeah, and there's a few other succulents out there. I didn't get all the names, but now is a really good time for those guys. So they're going to be starting to bloom very soon. Just very pretty out in the yard, very carefree.
Mhm.
You're not doing a lot of deadheading maintenance on them, so they're nice that
We
way.
planted, what's it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about 10 different types, not 10 different sedums, but 10 sedums, 3 different
Mm.
kinds. And we put them on drip system in the backyard on those back terraced areas.
Right.
And drip is okay for them, but really sedums, they don't like our city water or well water. They like natural rain. We go up to the lake, come back, and they've like grown by 30% just because of the rain, not just the drip system. So it's good drainage, bright sun, and natural water. You just can't beat that for sedums.
That is true. That is true. We also got in some coreopsis, different kinds and
All
colors.
the summer plants, summer
And then
bloomers.
some really cool daylilies. So, and our neighbor's daylily, we came back and our neighbor's daylilies are just singing.
Over the top.
And they're glorious. Yeah.
This
So
is their time. Also, animals don't bother daylilies, coreopsis. Most of these you've talked about, they don't bother them. Rabbits, deer, javelina.
Might eat the sedum though, don't you think?
It just depends how desperate they are. Usually,
Now there's so much moisture around. They're probably a little more.
lots of weeds.
Forgiving.
We were coming through Groom Creek, not Groom Creek, Dewey, that area, coming over the hill. Green is everywhere. Just green. It's so pretty.
Very pretty.
All these you mentioned are perennial.
Mhm.
They're best planted now in the summer.
Right.
So when the ground is moist, warm, and they're just going to continue to grow until about November, then they'll rest underground, kind of take a break and come back fresh, brand new next spring for you. Every spring, count on them. They'll just get better and better. So hardy, tough as nail perennials you can plant in your yard right now here at Waters Gardens.
We love our plants as much as the gardeners that plant them.
Like a spa day at Waters Garden Center, plants are never stressed out. They're bathed in soothing music and treated daily to an organic diet.
Even the birds are happier at Waters.
We love our plants. You'll see them grow better, thrive, and be glad in your backyard.
Waters Garden Center, 1815 Iron Springs Road in Prescott.
And top10plants.com. You're listening to garden expert Ken Lain, owner of Waters Garden Center in Prescott. Look for more tips, tricks, and garden shortcuts through Ken's website. Additional shows of this podcast, read his weekly garden column, or follow him on Facebook, Instagram at watersgardencenter.com. That's Waters with 2 T's, gardencenter.com. Welcome to the Top 10 Garden Show with Ken Lain. Listen to Ken's tips, tricks, and garden shortcuts guaranteed to make your gardens more beautiful than ever this year. Now welcome your host, Ken Lain.
So if you're new to the area, there are just some plants that grow easier than others. Now we're a zone 7B to 8. That means we've got plants that need 4 seasons, but mild 4 seasons. So we can grow all the hardy, just bulletproof, cold stuff from the Midwest. And then a whole lot more because our winters are cold, but they're mild compared to 40 below of Wyoming, Indiana, Minnesota, Wisconsin. Why do people live there in the winter? Come down to where God's country is, where the plants are still blooming. Even in January, it's nice, and you can go out for a nice hike and dress in layers because it's going to get warm this afternoon. Those are the kind of plants we grow here. And so as you're walking your neighborhood, there are some plants you're just seeing in almost on every street. There's some that are they're the go-to plants because they're so easy to grow. They're just so consistent. I thought I'd give you a list of a few ideas, and you're finding these at the garden center. You can plant these now. So easy. So if your house was just finished built, you can add to it because we're so mild. We plant all 12 months of the year. The plant rotation at the garden center can change. So we have lilacs and forsythia in the spring. Right now, the crepe myrtles and Rosa Sharon are blooming. So that space gets prime time location and colors and varieties now because we've grown more colors of crepe myrtles now than you'd ever find in the spring. I might have 1 variety, but now I've got 6. In lilacs, I might have 1 variety now, but in the spring, I've got 10 different varieties, different shape, size, colors, reblooming. So the product ebbs and flows and changes, but these are your kind of go-to. And I've got a list of the top 10 plants. You can go online and get these from our website, watersgardencenter.com. Just type in the search bar, top 10 plants. There's an AI bot at the bottom going, hey, could you show me the top 10 plants that grow in Arizona? Boom. It'll pop it right there for you. But, or here's, if you want all the handouts that we have for garden classes, they're on our website, watersgardencenter.com. At the very top, you'll see buttons. One of them is called Learn, 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 like I'm learning, education, learn. All the handouts are right there. All of them, from blueberries to fruit trees to the top 10 to how to plant, how to water. They're all right there. They're meant to be as a resource for me. As I teach classes, I've got them all right there, so I can go get them real easy so I can share them. But you're welcome to them anytime. They're free. Download them as you want. But I thought I'd go over the top 10 fall. I can't do 10. I don't have enough time. Let me give you the top 2 in each category. So I broke down the different ways people garden or use plants into a top 10 list. I don't go into describing, just here's a 10. You can go do further research from there. So I've got top 10 flowering shrubs, shade trees, flowering trees, evergreens, vines, ground covers, privacy screens, fruit trees, those top 10. And so I'll just start with the top 2. I won't mention them all because there's not enough time, but flowering trees, I would say the hardiest of all of them, the easiest to grow of all the flowering trees would have to be redbud because they're native. There's a wild variety that grows here. So that variety plus a whole lot of all the other red buds do really, really well here. It's a tree up about, mid-teens, nice ball-shaped, heart-shaped leaf, but the flower is bright pink in spring. It's a very, very, very tough plant. Flowers, pretty. Right now, you're seeing mimosa or silk tassel tree in bloom right now. You see a nice umbrella-shaped tree up to about 20, 25 feet. It's got this beautiful shape, and hummingbirds and butterflies are all over it. That's mimosa. And you can plant that right now. What's another one real quick? Crab apples. I would say crab apples are underestimated. It's kind of old-fashioned tree, I know. But there's new varieties that are coming out with brighter flower colors, bright reds, bright pinks, purples. That's crabapple in spring. And then we've bred the crabapple out of it. And so your grandparents, picked crab apples or made crabapple jelly, or at least mine did. Now they're just little tiny buttons, smaller than a dime. They're ornamental more than anything else. So easy care for flowering trees, flowering shrubs. I would say butterfly bush right now is the most popular. It's a big tree. Actually, it can be different sizes. Your parents had this ginormous one that grew 10, 12 feet tall. It was a monster. Purple flowers typically. Now we've introduced a red one, a white one, but we've got shorter dwarf varieties as well. So you can get some that are knee high, hip high, chest high, and the monsters, the great big, as large as a garden shed, and everything in between. So butterfly bush does really, really well here. Other parts of the country, it can freeze out, get ice damage, other issues here. Gosh, it just loves this bright sun, takes our wind. It loves the aridness, the dryness, just adapts. It grows better here than anywhere else in the country. You have butterfly bush, great plant. Lilacs and forsythia, the spring bloomers. We mentioned those earlier, but they are just tough. Lilac, both of those plants have roots that go real deep. And so, yes, it's a shrub up about head high or so, but it's got a root system that's that deep or deeper. So it's very frugal on the water. So you put it on your drip system, treat it like a tree. Water about once a week, good to go. I would say also that potentia or potentella, if you're from the Midwest, I've heard it both ways. Here in the Southwest, we don't pronounce the double L's just because of our Mexican Spanish roots. And so it's potentella. And so it's a bush about knee high or so, maybe 3 feet. Perfect ball shaped, just perfect. No trimming needed, perfect ball shaped. It's got flowers, yellow flowers about the size of quarters covering it. So butterflies will be on it, drought hardy as can be. And animals do not bother that plant. Put it right out there where the javelina, they might roll over it and play on it, but they're not going to eat it, dig it up, or do anything else to it. It's just like sun, easy to grow. Potentia. Okay, that's all I can do for that one. Roses. Rosa Sharon, that's another one you're seeing right now blooming. It just bloomed maybe a few weeks ago. There was this hibiscus flower about the size of a baseball covering this plant. Hundreds of blooms. Rosa Sharon's a great, just easy to care for flowering shrub that doesn't need a lot of care like other parts of the country. It doesn't have any real bugs, doesn't get any real diseases, doesn't get mildews. Just easy, just tough. The best shade trees. I would have to put it anytime you hear the word ash, locust, or maples, you've got a good, strong tree. Now, there's other varieties. Aspens grow wild here. There's different varieties. Bradford pears or ornamental pears grow here. They're also very tough. Those are all good plants, and you can plant them right now. You put them in the ground. They will actually flush new growth because of the moisture and continue to root out to the end of the year. It's a great plant. Privacy screens. If you need something big, thick, full, and just you want your neighbor gone, you don't want to see that garden shed or that Class A RV your neighbor just is showing off right on your property line, you can block this living screen. I'd say the easiest to grow. What do I do? There's so many. Arizona cypress is a native, goes up 25 foot by 12 foot wide. It's pretty big, probably one of the fastest growing, thickest of the plants that grows that's native. So get up to size and you never have to care for it again. It just doesn't need water, doesn't need anything. It just is a native, grows out there. Junipers, all your upright junipers, Spartan juniper, gray gleam. There's so many of them. Oh my gosh. I've got a whole section of nothing but privacy screen stuff. I would say one to consider is Austrian pine. Now it's related to ponderosa pine, but it holds its foliage right down to the ground. So it's nice and thick. So it goes to about 35 feet tall, maybe 15 feet wide, but it's got the central leader, branches coming out of it, but it holds its foliage right to the ground. That's what makes it so good. Austrian pine maybe will grow 18 inches a year, maybe 2 feet if it's really happy. Good choice. Vines, the honeysuckle, and there's a native one called Virginia creeper. Grows wild out in the forest. That's tough. You just cannot kill that thing once it gets started. There's some bulletproof plants. You just can't. They're easier than others to grow. If that's your plant, that look for them. Let's see. Ground covers. Whole series of ground covers. You need something to hold in a hill. Blue chip juniper, coral beauty cotoneaster, kinnick, which is wild manzanita. There's a low growing variety. It only gets ankle high, but spreads out. And so many more. Again, ask for the top 10 plant list on our website or when you come into the store. Be glad to give you the personal tour. But there are some plants you can plant that are easier to care for than others. Or if you think you've got brown thumbs, we can turn them green as can be with a few plant selections, help you guide you into making less mistakes here at Waters Garden Center.
Waters Garden companion plants for July are hibiscus, purple verbena, crepe myrtle, and sensation maples.
Sensation maples grow fast. The spring leaves erupt with soft reds that quickly mature to a refreshing green for summer-long shade.
Autumn, it unleashes a brilliant display of red leaves.
Where this maple really shines is in the areas with challenging garden soils.
The picture-perfect tree to line driveways or shade a patio.
You'll only find Sensation maples here at Waters Garden Center in Prescott.
You're listening to garden expert Ken Lain. He can be found throughout the week at Waters Garden Center in Prescott. Thanks for tuning in to the Top 10 Garden Show. You've tuned in to the Top 10 Gardener with garden expert Ken Lain. Join him daily as he answers timely garden questions that are sure to make a difference in your gardens. Now welcome your host, Ken Lain.
I have got to tell you, one of the most stressful things as a parent, I don't care how old you are, whether they're in kindergarten or they're darn close to 30. When your kid goes up on stage for an award and it's like them and a couple other people and they're announcing, you're waiting with bated breath. I wonder if my kid won. It is stressful. Now you pack out a venue of networking professionals. They're all power people in your industry. And your daughter, who's the general manager of your store, is a family business. So Mackenzie Lain she's my youngest daughter. I've got 4 kids. She's my youngest. She has a twin sister that's 5 minutes older than her. They're basically the same, but we call her our youngest. Anyway, and she's training to take the garden center, be the 3rd generation to run this, and with pride. I'm just proud as can be as a father to have my daughter take on the legacy. But then when she is recognized by our entire industry, there's 10,000 people at this trade show in Columbus, Ohio. She's the retailers under the age of 35, 40, something like whatever it is, that are running the industry right now. So these are the leaders that will change, that will run us for the next 20, 30 years. They're recognizing those that are at the front, that are making a difference, that are involved, that are giving back. And so Mackenzie was one of 3 people that was nominated. And you had to fly to Columbus, Ohio to see who won. And so it's like 200, 300, 400, hundreds of people in this room milling around. It's kind of noisy. And then they make the announcement that Mackenzie Lain is number 1, the 2024 Retailer of the Year for garden centers in America, in North America. Canadians were also involved. Anyway, just doggone proud of her. But I got to tell you, my stomach is going to roll over. I'm sure we will have a press release with more details. We already made the announcement. The press loves those kind of stories, and I don't want to give them too much too often. So I'll probably wait a little bit until she's got a front page magazine cover. They're shooting it. Blushing Cactus is going to take the photos this next week. Great local photographer. We love them. They take great photos. They're taking the pictures for that magazine. I think we'll have a full spread. We'll get much more detail on that coming up, I think, at the end of August or September. So we'll get more out to you. But dang it, I was stressed out. Okay, that's enough about me and my stress and my kids. But you know what I'm talking about, you parents out there. I don't care what age. Mackenzie's just shy of 30. I mean, doggone it. I should not get that stressed out, but I did. I'm proud of her as can be. Classes. So we've got free garden classes every Saturday at 9:30. Please join us. So this Saturday, it's a top 10 trees for fresh fruit. The produce is coming off of trees now. If you missed it, you can plant some. We'll tell you which ones produce better, what varieties grow better. We will be real specific. And I'm sure we'll touch into blueberries, blackberries, raspberries, figs, all the others as well. Successful planting of big trees. So shade is needed. So folks are coming in for shade trees. So, okay, the first Saturday in August, we'll just go over the best shade trees for here. If you need a big tree to shade that patio, just to get you some more relief from all that rock that heats up and just roasts you on the back patio, well, we'll show you which trees take the edge off. Growing beautiful gardens, pest-free. We got some bugs showing up. So August 10th, bug-free, February 15 evergreen gardens, the 17th. So take a look at those. They're on our website. It's a free front page. There's a big classes button right there. If you're a Facebook person, sorry about that, event tabs. So if you're looking at all, you'll find us. So free garden classes every Saturday here at Waters Garden Center. I tell you, we love hanging out with gardeners and just learning together each Saturday at 9:30.
Waters Garden companion plants for July are maple, verbena, crepe myrtle, and rose of Sharon hibiscus.
Rose of Sharon is a mountain hardy hibiscus with anemone-like blooms.
Each stem of this hardy hibiscus is packed with buds.
She makes a beautiful informal hedge or screen and is easily trained into small trees.
Available Prescott colors show in blue, purple, white, red, and pink for years of enjoyment.
You'll find breathtaking hibiscus here at Waters Garden Center, 1815 Iron Springs Road in Prescott.
If you want a more fruitful garden, increased success, and landscape that just feels better, then tune in daily to the Top 10 Garden Podcast. Years of tips, tricks, and garden shortcuts are guaranteed to make your gardens nicer than ever. Listen to this podcast or read Ken's weekly garden column by visiting watersgardencenter.com. That's Waters with 2 T's, gardencenter.com. Thanks for tuning in.